Welcome to another episode of Aspire Food Safety webinar. We're excited today to welcome you to a new partnership with SARAYA Kenya Limited. We are privileged today to bring you a very interesting topic, which is a continuation to emerging trends from the COVID-19 pandemic. So, our topic today is food hygiene can prevent food contamination and the spread of infectious diseases. To take you through, my name is Harrison Mathai. I'm a UK food safety trainer and consultant. I am registered to train food safety training courses from awarding body of compliance, which are HiFeed, awarding body for compliance, and the Royal Society for Public Health. I'm approved to conduct food safety training and HACCP training from this organization, and I have a lot of experience over 20 years both in Kenya and abroad. My specialty also is to do food safety consultancy, HACCP consultancy, and implementation, and also risk management system. So, to take you through, I want us to look at the introduction to food itself. So what is food? Food is very important. It's an important part of our social and cultural life. It's a requirement of life. Actually, according to Abraham Maslow, food is one of the necessity requirement for anybody else to live. You must eat so that you can continue living. So we all need to eat. Some people eat to be able to obtain certain pleasure and also for nutritional value. So when we select food, we expect it to be safe to eat and it won't cause any illness, harm, or injury. So the expectation of these requirement, it places the responsibility to people who work with food, and it is also enshrined in the law. It doesn't matter where you're working, whether in Kenya, in a part of Africa or the world, the food businesses are all governed by food safety and hygiene laws all over. So in those laws, there is a responsibility for the person who is working with food to ensure that the food is always safe to eat. So what kind of food businesses are we talking about? The food business industry covers a variety of businesses and services, and this includes the manufacturers, the wholesalers, retailers, and also any other person who sells food as their main product. So whichever the type of the food operation that you're doing, whether you are doing it for consumption or any other part, and you're doing that to the public, that it gives you the legal responsibility to ensure that the food that you're serving out there, it is safe. So high standards are achieved by ensuring that we make sure that the food is prepared, it is processed, it is stored and served in your operation in a manner that is safe to consume. So it is your responsibility, and you have to ensure that. Otherwise, if you don't do it, then you have a problem, and customers have food poisoning or food contamination, and that affects the profitability of your business. Okay, so let's dive into today's topic. Today's topic is hands hygiene can prevent food contamination. So let's look at the hands usage and functions. Hands are essential in performing our daily activities like cooking, mixing, kneading, operating equipment, typing, drinking or massaging. Anything else that you have to do, mostly in your daily chores, you have to use your hands. So if you look at the daily day of a hand, when you wake up in the morning, you use your hands to brush your teeth. You use your hands to take a shower. You use your hands to have breakfast. You use your hands to drive or transport to work. You use your hands when you touch or you meet your colleagues, when you touch the door handles, the door knobs. as you make coffee, as you work with the files. I mean, you use your hands almost in everything else that you do. And even at home, when you go back, you still have to use your hands. So hands are very essential, and you have to ensure that at all time they are clean, and they do not we don't use them to contaminate or transfer microorganisms from point A to point B. So hands are part of the human skin, which is the largest organ of the human body. If you look at the human skin, it has a surface of around 1.5 to 2 meters square, depending on the size of the person, and it can weigh between 3.5 to 10 kg. So of course, also it depends with the size of the person. So on most of the part, the skin is as thin as a paper, and it's mainly there to protect the inner organs from infections, from injuries, and also from sun. So the skin, it's part of the excretory system, and it acts as it's a regulator for body temperature, and also to secure environment for the nerves, for the blood, and also for hair. So the human skin is really very, very important. Okay, so if you look at the human skin, it has 3 layers, which you can actually see. We have the top layer, the top layer, which gives you the color of your skin, whether you're dark, whether you're light, whether you are melanin, and that is what we call the epidermis. We have the inner layer, which is the dermis, and also we have the third layer, which is the hypodermis, which has the fat tissues. All these ones are important for us to recognize, because even then we'll be able to see how that plays into play when it comes to hands hygiene. So the human hand has a lot of microorganisms. The research has it that it can have more than 1 million microorganisms, and that could be bacteria, fungi, or viruses on the skin. And the skin has the resident bacteria, which are very useful to part of your survival, and they are found in the skin layers, and they also move to the surface. They come from the inner layer, they're able to come on the surface of the skin. We also have the transient skin flora, which are transferred by touching, when you touch something, or by and this one they will be able to settle temporarily, and this could cause infections. Most of the infections that people have, and some of us don't know, like boils, are actually caused by bacteria infection. It is believed that up to 40% of adults has Staphylococcus bacteria around their nose, and when you have a cough or sneezes, the sneezes can carry droplets, to a considerable amount that can contaminate food or the food work surfaces. And that is why it is essential for us, when we cough, we have to cough at the elbow. You have to cough at your elbow, and also once you do that, you have to wash your hands. It is actually important for us to remember that during the COVID-19 period, one of the measures that we have been advised by the government and also the Ministry of Health is to ensure we keep our hands clean as part of the prevention for the spread of that infectious diseases. As much as you're wearing the face mask, you're keeping the social distance, we also have to keep washing our hands and also using the hand sanitizer. So let's look at the body. A human body is what we refer as a typical factory for manufacturing bacteria. The human body has all the requirements that the bacteria requires so that it can multiply. When you sweat, you have moisture, and the sweat, of course, has a lot of residues that is coming out from your body, and that is a food for the microorganism to multiply. The bacteria requires 4 major things to multiply. It requires food, it requires temperature, it requires the moisture, and it requires time as well. So all these things are actually found in the human body. So from the sweat, you have food, you also have the moisture. With the time, the bacteria multiplies into millions and millions of microorganisms. And you know, our human body has a body temperature of 37 degrees Celsius, which is the ideal temperature for most of the food poisoning organisms. So if you look at the bacteria preferred temperature is what we call a danger zone, which is 5 to 63. So the 37 degrees Celsius is actually in the middle of the danger zone, which is the bacteria actually requires to multiply. So most of the food handlers, they should keep themselves clean, and they should take a daily shower. This is something that is recommended. Food handlers food handlers are mostly the potential serious hazard in food businesses by contamination of high-risk food and also physical contamination. Remember, as a food handler, you might have a lot of things on your hair. You might have hair, you might have ring, or you might have jewelry that could also contaminate food physically. So hands are the main vehicle for transferring food poisoning bacteria to high-risk food. We need to remember that at all time. So skin hygiene is also what we call personal hand hygiene. So hands are being the main vehicle for transferring bacteria to high-risk food. Hands should be kept clean and washed frequently throughout the day. And when we do that, we prevent the spread of diseases, of course, infectious diseases. We also preserve health. By washing our hands throughout the frequently, we also maintain productivity and also efficiency. And you know, when people are not sick, we reduce their absenteeism and at the place of work, and that is something else that we all strive to have. So hand hygiene is extremely important, especially when you visit the toilet. Some facts that we need to remember is that it's extremely important when you go to the toilet, you have to wash your hands, and an average person goes to a toilet for 6 to 8 times a day, and that is around 2,500 times a year. If you have a lifespan of around 75, that would be like a year going to the toilet. So, you know, this is something else that we cannot avoid. It is what we call a call of nature, and we have to do it. It's part of our living requirement. So, a few hand washing facts are only 73% of people wash their hands after using the toilet. There is a 25%, which is a quarter, who never wash their hands when they visit the toilet. And the interesting fact is that out of the 75, a huge number of them, they do not wash their hands adequately. That's according to the research that was done by European Association in Personal Hygiene sometimes back. And, you know, as much as we think it's a requirement, it's a necessity, people are not doing it, and those who are doing it, majority of them are not doing it properly. So we need to look at how we can make the record straight. So hand washing is a main component of personal hygiene, and we have to ensure that we clean our bodies every day. When we're doing the personal hygiene, hand washing is also important. Taking care of our physical well-being is critical to people working with food, especially you out there. Your job is to ensure that you make sure that the food is safe to consume. By washing your hands, you're preventing contamination, which can lead to food poisoning. So food handlers, therefore, they must be in good health, and they should have clean habits. No nail biting. They should be instructed, you should be taught and trained to ensure that you do not contaminate or allow food to be contaminated at all times. So it is your responsibility to safeguard food from any contamination. Okay? So hand hygiene is really very essential. It is the simplest and the most effective way of reducing the spread of infectious diseases. Even at this era of COVID-19, hand washing is really important if we have to win this battle. We know together we can work, together we join hands, and together we are going to defeat the COVID-19 but we have to ensure that everybody is doing that. He's washing their hands or they're washing their hands. And especially the more regular you wash your hands, the less microorganisms are spread all over. So when you wash your hands, you cut the chain, and that is important. We have to ensure we are able to cut the chain. Okay, so the importance of hand washing, it cannot be, we have to continue stressing on it. It is essential to prevent the spread of germs and in order to stay healthy in everyday situations. In every day you have to do it. Our hands are the most common way of transmitting infectious diseases. These hands. Remember, microorganisms are static. Bacteria cannot move on their own, and they require their hands to transport from one point to another. So in public, we pick a lot of germs, and especially when you touch your door handles, the elevator buttons, the handrails, the telephone, all these ones are places you can actually pick microorganisms. And sometimes when you touch those places, you are either picking them or you are either dropping the microorganisms. So every surface can handle germs or microorganisms, and when we touch it, we actually acquire or leave them there. So, and this is the simplest way how epidemics are spread in the society. So we have to play our part to ensure that we break the chain. Okay. So how do we go about the training empowerment? Training would involve the provisions of knowledge. You have to provide the knowledge by implementing what we learn. So whatever we're learning from this episode, we are going to ensure that we practice that. Remember, practice makes perfect. And for food handlers to understand their controls and monitoring and the other corrective measures, they must ensure that food safety is happening at the place of work. That is something else, remember, is enshrined by law, and you have to ensure that it is happening. The responsibility of doing that, for you to serve safe food, to ensure that it doesn't cause any injury or harm, is enshrined in the law, and that is your responsibility as a food handler. Okay, so when do we need to wash our hands? We have a few examples that we can share, but of course, as long as you suspect your hands are dirty, you have to keep them clean. So you have to wash your hands frequently during the day. So one of the basic one is after visiting the toilet, you have to wash your hands. Some people think that when they use the toilet paper, they should not wash their hands. Toilet paper is porous, means that porous are things that has a permeable surface that can allow transmission of either moisture or other osmosis product to get through. So you need to wash your hands because you might have feces handing out to your hands as you use the toilet. So there's something else we call a double hand washing. You have to practice as a food handler. So after using the bathroom, when you get to a food room, you need to ensure you wash your hands. If you look at all professionally designed food places, they have the hand washing sink at the entrance of any food room. So this is a requirement by law, and you have to ensure that we practice that. So before handling any food, and when you enter to the food room, you have to wash your hands. After dealing with any customer, especially the ill customer or baby nappy, some of the customers might require your support when they fall ill. You have to wash your hands. Between duties, especially when you're working with raw food, such as poultry, red meat, eggs, shellfish, before you can handle any ready-to-eat or high-risk food, you have to wash your hands. After changing or putting up your clothes, you have to wash your hands. After cleaning any animal feces or bird droppings, you have to wash your hands. After doing cleaning duties, like for example, you've done some cleaning at your place of work, you have to wash your hands before you can handle any food. After combing or touching your hair, you have to wash your hands. So Even after smoking or eating, you really need to wash your hands. And all this time, what you're doing, we are cutting or breaking the chain of contamination. Okay, so how do we do a proper hand washing? The correct way of doing hand washing. The correct way is that, of course, the business or the premises has to provide you with the provisions of proper hand washing. You need to have a hand washing sink, you need to have water, running water, you need to have soap, and you need to have paper. So when you go to a hand washing sink, you wet your hands and you take the soap, which is around 3 to 5 ml, and then you rub it. When you rub it, you get lather. The lather is what you require to have effective hand washing. And then once you get the lather, you clean in between your fingertips, back of the wrist, clean at the wrist. Those are the places that we always forget. And once you have cleaned everything else, you're able now to open the tap and rinse off the bacteria or the germs, soap, and all the other dirt that was in the hands. Once you've done that, you take the paper towel, you dry your hands, and after drying your hands, you use the paper towel to close the tap. This is a part that we always forget. Most of the people, they will rinse off their hands and then close the tap again. You remember, when you open the tap, you had the bacteria or the dirt on the knob, and you need to use the paper towel to prevent the contamination of your hands. So research has it that hands drying with paper will reduce the bacteria by 91%, according to the research done by Georgia Pacific Survey sometime back in 2002. Okay, so when we come to hand washing soap, we need to look at a few characteristics of best soaps. If you're a manager, if you're managing a business and you want to buy the best soap for your place of work, what are the characteristics? We need to look at a soap that has a pH neutral. We need a soap that has a pH neutral of around 7 or 7.5, so that you do not have an allergic reaction to such soap. Soap should have non-allergic causing ingredients. Some people would use certain soaps and then they have a skin reaction. So it needs to be a non-allergic. It should have non-allergic causing ingredients. It should also have nature identical preservatives. Preservatives that are there that are naturally safe, and it should be non-perfume formula, especially for food businesses. Remember, chemicals can taint the food, and for us to ensure that doesn't happen, we need to have a soap that is non-perfume. It should be biodegradable for environment, and it should also work for both cold and warm water environment. For food businesses, you need to get a soap that is antibacterial, because you have to ensure that the soap is effective in removing any microbiological organisms in your hands. So what are the available solutions that we have currently for effective hand washing? You can use a liquid soap, or you can use a foaming soap, which has to be tested. It has to be tested that it can remove dirt and germs. For food business or medical, you have to ensure that it is actually doing the work. After hand washing, we can always use a hand disinfectant, which is safer and a faster way of ensuring that we're disinfecting our hands. We have an available solution from SARAYA Alba Soft V, which is an effective and tried hand sanitizer on a huge number of broad spectrum microorganisms and viruses. It has shows that it is very effective in a very short time after application. So once you have washed your hands, especially when you're dealing with high risk food, you can use personal protective equipment, and we're talking about gloves. This is an effective way of reducing risk, especially when you're working with high risk food. So it is recommended for you to use the gloves. Most of the people are using medical gloves, which are cream in color. You need to use blue, which are food grade and non-latex. When it comes to allergens, some people have allergy reaction from latex. And for food handlers, you have to ensure that the gloves are safe and they are non-latex. Okay, so what is our take home today? What is our resolution from our webinar? We can summarize by saying that hands are the main route for transferring food poisoning organisms to high-risk food, and you may be prosecuted by breaking the food safety law relating to personal hygiene. As a food handler, you have the responsibility. You should report to your manager or your supervisor when you start to work if you are ill, especially if you have sickness or diarrhea or a bad cold or sore throat or discharges from ears, eyes or noses. That's something else. It's your responsibility to report that. If you have any food poisoning, if you have any cuts, septic spots, or other skin infections, you need to report to your manager. If you have been in contact with somebody who's been ill, especially with a food poisoning sickness like diarrhea, you have to report that. You have to ensure that at all times you follow good hygiene rules to prevent the spread of food poisoning microorganism in your operation and to provide safe food to promote health to your customers. So hygiene training helps in preventing food poisoning, and we expect you to apply the knowledge so that you can be able to prevent food poisoning in our organizations. So as per our food safety standard, we do a lot of support services to our customers, and we know that every business is unique. No food business is the same, and every business will require a unique solution to their challenges. And we have a qualified set of food safety consultants that are able to work with you to ensure that you get that. We know from the Ministry of Public Health and Ministry of Tourism, it is a requirement for most of the food businesses, especially if you are 5-star or if you are 4-star or 3-star establishment. You need to have a food safety management system in place for you to operate. This is a policy that is already existing, and we are happy to work with you to ensure that you comply with the law. So we do a lot of food safety audits for capacity building. We also do food safety audit to ensure that you are able to come up with any training needs that your team will require. If you want to do, you need to build a capacity in terms of food safety culture. So we also do food safety risk management, especially if you have a food poisoning incident and you want to know the root cause for that, we can support you in that. We also do offer accredited food safety trainings from UK bodies. We do food safety level 1, we do also food safety level 2, and food safety level 3, and food safety level 4, which is equivalent to a diploma, both in catering and manufacturing. We also do HACCP awareness training programs, HACCP level 1 and HACCP principles level 2, and now HACCP principles level 3. We do a lot of support in terms of HACCP consultations and implementation, and we'll be happy to work with you if you require to go that route. Okay, we are very excited today to say that our e-learning platform is up and running, and we have a lot of new courses that are coming on board. We have existing courses. We have a course on personal hygiene and health. We have a basic food safety course. We have food allergens management course, which is going to be effective from this month. So you can always log in and try, and you can learn. Even during the COVID-19, you are able to log in and learn at your own cost. So that will be the end of our training. We're very happy that you've been with us, and we expect that from this training you will be able to implement the information. So if you have any questions or you have any comments that you want to share with us, our contact number is +254 725 009705 or +254 780 009705. You can always write to us. Our email address is info@aspireFoodSafety.co.ke. Our website is www.aspireFoodSafety.co.ke. We're taking this opportunity to thank our sponsor who have come on board, and we want to encourage anybody else who would want to partner with us in promotion of health and food safety in the country. Please, you can reach out to us. We take this opportunity to thank SARAYA Kenya. SARAYA Kenya is one of the international janitorial product suppliers in the country, and they supply high quality hand products that are available and can be effective in terms of preserving health. So you can reach to SARAYA Kenya. They are based on Mombasa Road, Kenya, and their telephone number is +254 717 355 933. You can check their website. Is www.sarayaeastafrica.com. Thank you very much. Until next time, we'll see you. Take care. Be safe. Bye bye.